I made these ornaments on the xTool Ultra M1, and within 1 hour at a local pop-up, I made $500. Stick around, I'll show you how. Over in the xTool Creative Space software called XCS, the first thing I'm going to do is create a circle on my canvas. So in the left navigation, the third icon down from the left, is when I hover over that, it's going to show me line, rectangle, and circle. So I'm going to click on circle, and then anywhere on my canvas, I'm going to hold the shift key down on my keyboard and click and drag to get a perfect circle. When you do that, it maintains the aspect ratio. Now I want to size this circle down, and I could do that by clicking and dragging on one of the corners while I hold my shift key down. Or I can go across the top here where it says width and height, and I can adjust the size there. So I'm going to type in 3.5 for width, and then because the lock here in the center is on, it maintains the aspect ratio. So when I tab off of the width 3.5, it automatically adjusts the height to the same. The second thing I'm going to do is right click on that circle, and I'm going to select copy, and then right click again and say paste. And now I have the same exact size circle. I'm going to change this one to be 3 inches by 3 inches. All right, so these are going to be cut files, but I don't want them to be two separate circles that are cut. So if I click on cut here, with the first circle selected, click on cut, and then select the second one and click on cut. That's going to give me two completely cut circles separate. Even if I overlap them like so, it's still going to cut two separate circles, and I don't want that. I want one circle with the middle cut out, which means like a ring. So I'm going to select both of those circles, and I'm going to go under Align, Center, and then I'm going to click on this icon here, which is Subtract, and I'm going to click on that. So now it's one unit. It's going to be like a ring when it gets cut. And I like to use the engrave option when I'm working on designing and going back and changing how I want it to cut, score, or engrave later. So here I've changed it to fill engrave so that I can get a better visual of what it's going to look like. Now it is 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and the center is going to be cut hollow. This is exactly what I want. The next step is to go back in the left, and under the third icon from the top, I'm going to click on rectangle, and I'm going to just draw a rectangle on my canvas, and I'm going to zoom in here a little bit because I want to show you that the corner here is a very sharp corner, and that's not what I want. I want a curved corner. So I'm going to go up under, with that rectangle selected, I'm going to go up under Outline, and here you can adjust the amount of spacing you have around your rectangle. It also gives you a curved corner. So you can increase the distance of the offset, which gives you a greater or wider curve, or decrease that to give you a narrower curve. So I'm going to put my curve at 0.04 and say confirm. And now you can see that my inner rectangle has that sharp point, and then my outer rectangle has my curved point or my curved edge. So I'm going to click on that inner one and delete it because I don't want that anymore. And I'm going to zoom back out, and I'm going to change the width. No, I'm going to change the height of this to 0.5, and it maintained the aspect ratio when I did that. So I'm going to turn off the lock for aspect ratio so that I can move my rectangle to where I want it, and then drag the other side so that I have about the same amount of space on each side, roughly. Then I'm going to select all of it, click and drag to select everything, and then go under Align and Align Center. Now, that's going to give me a perfect half moon on the top and a perfect half moon on the bottom, and we're going to work with those in a few minutes. But I want that rectangle and the ring circle to be all one and cut as one. So I'm going to select everything again and go under the Unite icon across the top and click that. So this is now one unit that's going to cut. It'll be an outside circle with two half moons and this bar across the middle. The next thing I want to do is make it an ornament, so I'm going to put a circle across the top so that I can thread my ribbon through it. So back on the left, I'm going to click on Circle, and I'm going to Shift click and make a perfect circle. And I want this to be 0.4 inches wide by 0.4 inches high. And I'm going to right click on it and say copy, right click, and say paste. The second one that I just pasted, I want to change that size to 0.2 by 0.2. And I'll zoom in just a little bit and then position that here. Select both layers and go back under and align center. Subtract it because I want it also to be like a ring. Click on engrave so I can see it better, and then move this down to position it so that it's overlapping with the larger ornament base that we just created. And once you have that in place, select everything and go back under align again and select horizontal, and then merge them all together or unite them to be one. So this is what it's going to look like when it's cut. All right, so we're going to put some text across this bar here, but we also are going to add some text in this hollow spot. So I need a base for it to stick on. So I'm going to right click on that ornament and say copy and then paste. And this will be my top layer and this will be my bottom layer. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the top layer and I'm going to click on the bottom here, move to, and we'll just say red so we have a better visual of what it's going to look like. And this other layer, it's going to be our bottom layer, I'm going to say move to and we'll say green. These aren't the colors we're going to cut out, but it just gives us a good visual. For the base layer, I don't want these half moons. I want just one solid cutout. So I'm going to go back on the left and select circle and then click and drag to make a circle that fits inside my ornament, and then select both of those and go under the unite icon across the top and click that. Now I have one full background that's going to cut solid, and it's going to fit behind this red layer. So I'm going to right click on that green one and go under arrange and say move to back. So this is what my ornament's going to look like when all is said and done. On this green layer, this is the layer I'm going to put some text that's going to be curved across the top as well as the bottom. So the next thing I want to do is go under the text tool on the left, click anywhere on my canvas, and I'm going to type all caps, there's no place like. And then I'm going to fill engrave that so that I can see it better, and then shrink that size down. And I want to change that color so that it's a little bit more visible to me and doesn't blend with everything else I have so far. So under move to, I'm going to change that to black. Across the top where it says Lato, that's the font. So I'm going to click on that and I'm just going to type in Arial. And there we have a change in our font. So I'm going to grab one of those corners and shrink it down just a little bit. And now I'll zoom in so that you can see this little icon here that shows up when I have my text selected. This one at the top allows me to rotate it. This one here allows me to click and drag and curve my text. All right, so I can curve it and then I can maybe shrink the size down a little bit. And then I can play with that curve a little bit more until I get it about the way I want it. So I can select everything and go under align horizontal to see if I have it positioned the way I want it. All right, you can play with that curve until you get it the way that you'd like it. Now across the bottom, we're going to do the same thing. So since I already have my font and everything selected, I'm just going to right click on there, there's no place like home, say copy, and then paste. And I'm going to change this text to home for the holidays. I'm going to click on that text and then use that curve feature and curve it the other way and move that down into place and play with that curve until I get it the way I want it. I'm going to shrink that down a little bit more. Oops, undo, undo. All right, so I'm not going to shrink that text down. I'm going to leave it that way so they're the same height and size. And once I have that spacing the way I want it, I'm going to select everything to make sure it's all aligned horizontally. We easily curved our text onto our ornament. The next thing we're going to do is write home. I'm going to back out here a little bit and go under the text tool and click and write the word home. initial cap. Now I want this to be in a fun font, and I want the H to have a front leading tail and the E to have a back leading tail. So I'm going to copy this home 3 times, and I'm going to the first home I'm going to remove the OME. The second one I'm going to remove the H and the E, and the third one I'm going to remove everything but the E. Then I'm going to change my font to Hello Honey, but I want that H to have a front tail. So I'm going to click on this font that has the leading tail. For the OM, I'm going to go back under fonts and type in Hello Honey. And now I have that font there. And then for the E, I'm going to have an ending tail. So I'll change the font again by searching for Hello and using the tail feature there. Because the H was a capital, it gave me the leading tail, and then the E was lowercase and it gave me the ending tail. So then I can just take these letters and mesh them together until I have them positioned the way I want. Basically lining up the bottom of the O and the E there. And then if I'm happy with the way they look, I'm going to select them all and go back under Unite and click that. So now it is one image with no cut lines in between the letters. Zoom back out, and I'm going to grab that, put it up in place, size it down a little bit, and to make it easier to view, I'm going to go ahead and do Engrave. And then I'll zoom back out so you can see it better, and I'll size that down to something about like that. Select, oops, undo, select everything, and go under Align Horizontal. All right, so far so good. So the next thing I'm going to do is put in the town below the red bar. So I'm going to click on the text tool and type in the town. I'll put my town here. I'm going to change that to Engrave so that I can see a little bit better, and then just grab one of those corners, size it down till I get it the size I want, and then put that in place. Select everything, oops, undo, select everything, and go under Align Horizontal. All right, now we're going to put in our zip code. So just grab the text tool and type in the zip code. I'm going to change that to Engrave, and I'll change the font to Arial, and shrink that down and put it in place. And I'm going to double check that Viera, Florida to make sure that the font is Arial as well. And put that back in place. Okay, select everything and go under Align Horizontal. So far so good. Now the next thing I want to do is import a Christmas tree that can be put on either side of the zip code. So I'm going to go under the X icon across the top and go under File, Import Image. And I'm going to look for that Christmas tree that I'd like to put in there. And I'm going to grab that and size it down. Something that will work better for the space I'm looking for. And this image is going to be, the link to it will be in the description below. All right, once I have it the way I want it sized, I'm going to go ahead and right click on it and say copy, and then right click and say paste, and put this over here. Right now the design is kind of a squiggly design, and it's going the same way on both sides. And if I wanted one side to be slightly different than the other, I could click on one and mirror it so that the squiggly lines are going in opposite directions. And I'm going to go ahead and select the Christmas trees as well as the zip code, and I'm going to align vertical. And maybe I'll shrink that zip code down just a little bit. Something along those lines. Maybe I'm going to shrink Viera, Florida down a little bit too. And I'll select all the inside pieces and align them horizontal. And then I'm going to select that Christmas tree, the zip code, and the other Christmas tree, and I'm going to align them vertical. Okay, everything looks good so far. The tree both trees and the zip code are going to be engraved on the red circle, and all this inside text on the green is going to be engraved on the green circle. So I'm going to click on the Christmas trees and the red circle and move them to the side here. All right, so this is how things are going to be set up. This is we've created our ornament. Now it's just a matter of picking the settings to laser engrave it. Here's a trick. I like to grab the text tool and type in my cut settings for the different types of materials I'm going to be using so that it's saved with the file every time I use it. So in this case, the bottom layer is going to be silver scratch acrylic that's going to scratch black, so the text will come across black on the silver. And then the red part of the ornament is going to be done in walnut. So where I've got my text here, I'm just going to type in walnut. All right, and I'm going to, with that selected, I'm going to just move it off of the canvas. This means it won't be cut or engraved. So I'm going to shrink it down. And below that word, I'm going to put in cut, and then I'm going to put engrave. And this is where I'll list what the cut settings or the engrave settings are going to be for this ornament. So I'm going to do cut of power 90, speed 4 with 1 pass. And then for engrave, I'm going to do power 20, speed 100, 1 pass with 100 lines per inch. I'll just shrink that down. So those are going to be my settings I'm going to use. This is what I've tested and found to work best. So for the scratch acrylic, for the walnut layer, this is the walnut layer. I'll bring this over here for a second. For the walnut layer, we're going to cut, select the outer circle and go to cut and change the power to 90 and the speed to 4 for 1 pass. All right, and then we're going to click on the tree, the zip code, and the other tree and change the engrave settings to power 20, speed 100, 1 line, 1 pass, and then we're going to change our lines per centimeter to 100. And we'll go ahead and save our file so we don't lose any of our settings. All right, so we'll move this off the canvas because we don't want it to actually cut or engrave, but it keeps it there so that we'll know for future reference. So now we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to copy those settings, paste, and we're going to figure out what our settings should be for our scratch acrylic. So instead of walnut, I'm going to type in silver scratch acrylic. We're going to change our cut settings for the silver scratch acrylic to 100, speed 3 for 1 pass. And then for the engrave, we're going to change the power to 100. We're going to use a speed of 150 for 1 pass and 100 lines per inch. So for our circle, we're going to change the power to cut for 100 and the speed of 3, 1 pass. And for each of the text components, we're going to select all of those, make sure engrave is clicked, and then under power, we're going to change that to 100, speed 150, 1 pass, and 100 lines per centimeter. And we'll go ahead and save that. And that is everything we need to configure to go ahead and send this over to be cut and engraved.
It turned out great, and once you glue it together and add some ribbon, I'm telling you, it will sell. Trust me. Price these at $20 each, sell $25, and you can make $500 in an hour. Make them with ebony wood, walnut wood, scratch acrylic, whatever you want. These look great on a tree and make wonderful gifts. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. We've got lots more content coming soon. Thanks for watching and happy crafting.